Okay, sometimes I get asked the question, why are you always wiggling in your postures? And I'm just going to take one thin slice of an element that should be super accessible for most people. When I am in a low lunge, I always ask students to bring the foot and the knee outside of the shoulder and have a lot of space in between that front foot and the back knee so that I can circle the pelvis. Now, first of all, a lot of people think, well, this I'm just getting wiggly because I don't want to get into the pose. But let's have a little anatomy 101. If I'm talking to this left leg, the hamstring, a lot of people think, oh, it goes from the back of the knee to the sit bone. Now, that's just a tiny slice. It's not even a very big slice. The largest part of the hamstring comes from the back and wraps around into the adductor, the inner thigh. So you've got the hamstring connection into the adductor magnus. So it's like the biggest part of the adductors wrap around and become part of the hamstring. Now on the outside, the same thing happens here, going into the IT band and also attaching up into the glute maximus, right? So instead of just going, well, I'm just going to worry about like an Ardha Hanumanasana, a hamstring stretch, I'm only going to get that one slice. And as we know, we can end up with yoga butt, overstretching that attachment up into the sit bone because it is just a thin slice. So if I get here and I start navigating the movement of the femur bone in the hip socket, I start to feel what's going on in all of the connections in the hamstring and not isolating just that one thin slice, right? So I don't get any particular point vulnerable. And it's the same with the back leg. So we have the quadricep attachment into the hip flexors, which aren't just, the psoas muscle. It's, the iliopsoas, the connection up into the back of the pelvis. It's the connection of the TFL, as well as down into the groins, right? So if I'm getting both of these thigh bones to move in the hip sockets, before I do anything structured or anything that I want to hold, I'm just using this movement to navigate in the hip sockets, so that when it does come time for me to say, move into a low lunge, all of those connections are awake. They're all part of the process, right? So I can then feel into them equally. Whether I'm looking at elongating the back of my leg, I'll always take a little wiggle here, thinking outer hamstring, inner hamstring, wiggling through both sides. And then maybe give opportunity to focus on the outer side by turning the leg out, or the inner side by turning the toes in, right? They're all valid points of contact because they're all ranges of motion in the body. So I hope that helps you see a little bit more insight into the anatomical applications of wiggling, basically, for lack of a better word.